Fired for saving a young man in need. Discover the amazing life-changing turn of events. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over Mike's little garage, where oil-stained hands deftly tackled his latest project. He wiped sweat from his brow, glancing at the clock. Time to pick up his precious daughter, Lily. The sweet aroma of fried food wafted through the air as they strolled past the local diner, its windows alive with laughter and chatter. Families gathered, their hearts full, while children dashed outside, chasing fireflies like shooting stars. But a different scene unfolded nearby. A group of teenagers hovered over a younger boy, their jeering laughter slicing through the evening air like a knife. Mike felt his heart race. That boy, Daniel, looked lost and scared. The bullies pushed him, taunting him over something inconsequential. Mike's instincts kicked in. This wasn't just a boy getting picked on. It was a moment that called for action. With a fierce determination, he approached, his resolve like steel. "Hey!" he barked, his voice thunderous. The laughter faded, replaced by an uneasy silence as the bullies turned to him, shock etched on their faces. In that moment, the air felt electric. Mike stood, a defender for the defenseless. He couldn't just stand by and watch. "Leave him alone," he ordered, unwavering. The bullies scoffed but stepped back, surprised by his bravery. Daniel's eyes met Mike's. Hope flickered there, and for a heartbeat, everything felt right. But then, the bullies' harsh words turned to threats, and Mike stood his ground, fists clenched, ready to protect this boy at any cost. But bravery comes with a price. The next day, as Mike walked into work at the auto body shop, he could feel an ominous weight in the air. His boss, Mr. Jennings, a man who put profits over people, ushered him into his office. "You intervened last night," Jennings sneered. "You put our image at risk. You're fired." Just like that, Mike's heart dropped. Unemployment didn't just mean losing a job. It felt like a betrayal of everything he taught Lily about standing up for what's right. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned into weeks, and the weight of despair hung heavily on Mike. Bills piled high, and every missed paycheck sent a chill down his spine. "Dad, will everything be okay?" Lily asked one evening, her little voice trembling. That innocent question tugged at his heart, and he could only muster a weak smile. The American dream felt increasingly distant. But as darkness threatened to swallow him whole, the community rallied. Neighbors began to show up at his door, bringing food, encouragement, and stories of hope. They shared their admiration for Mike's courage, and how they respected a man who stood up for integrity. This wasn't just about him anymore. It became a movement. Excitement reverberated through town as flyers circulated, and veterans joined the cause. They all stood for something bigger: justice, honor, and what it truly meant to be part of a community. As Mike faced the oncoming tide of support, he realized he was at a crossroads. Would he reclaim his job and subject himself to a toxic environment? Or would he chase a dream reborn from integrity and community? He looked at Lily, who beamed with pride, and felt the stirring of something deep within. The future remained uncertain, but one thing was clear: there was fight left in him yet. Would he have the courage to redefine what success looked like? The community's hope hung in the balance, urging him on to transform this moment into something greater than himself. The following morning, Mike woke before dawn, the weight of uncertainty still pressing down on his chest. He stared at the ceiling, shadows cast by the early light creeping in through the window. Lily, still sound asleep, stirred slightly beside him, a small comfort amidst his turmoil. He took a deep breath, inhaling the familiar scent of their worn-out home, hoping the warmth of the morning would bring clarity. As the sun began to rise, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, a spark ignited in Mike's belly. He didn't want to dwell on Thursday's crushing news. Dwelling wouldn't pay the bills or feed his daughter. Instead, he grabbed a notepad and pen from the cluttered workbench in the garage. He scribbled ideas as they flowed. Thoughts about starting a support group, a way to connect with others experiencing injustice, a network for those feeling alone. "This isn't just about me anymore," he murmured under his breath, startling himself with the realization. It was bigger, a cause he could sink his heart into and fight for. Encouraged, Mike dressed quickly and made his way downstairs. The warm kitchen welcomed him as he brewed coffee and prepared breakfast, the sound of sizzling eggs mixing with the soft patter of Lily's tiny feet padding across the floor. "Good morning, Dad," she chirped, her bright smile cutting through the lingering shadows of the last few weeks. "Morning, champ. How about we try something new today?" he said, serving her a plate piled high with food. Her eyes widened with excitement, an innocence untouched by the world outside. Mike's heart swelled. It was moments like these that reminded him of what he was fighting for. After breakfast, Mike broached the subject of the support group. "You know how you always say I should help people? Well, I'm thinking of hosting some meetings for dads like me, people who've lost jobs standing up for what's right." Lily's curiosity sparked a fire in her eyes. "Can I help?" she asked eagerly, bouncing in her seat. "Of course. We can make posters together," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. They spent the morning brainstorming ideas, giggling with every new concept, bringing life and hope into their small kitchen. As the week rolled on, Mike's phone buzzed with messages from neighbors and friends rallying their support. Some were willing to share their stories, and others were eager to lend a hand, whether with food or supplies to get the group started. Each notification felt like a lifeline, pulling him from despair. One evening, as Lily curled up next to him on the couch with her favorite storybook, he found strength in her laughter. He realized that all of this was more than just about getting back on his feet. It was about lifting others along the way. "Dad, are we going to save the world?" She grinned, her eyes twinkling with innocence. "Maybe just our little corner of it," he laughed, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear. But inside, he felt the weight of responsibility. This was not just a mission, it was a revolution of the heart. As they prepared for the first meeting, anticipation fluttered in Mike's chest. With each passing moment, he could feel the change sweeping through his community like a warm breeze. People were hungry for connection, and they were ready to stand together. Would he succeed in building this haven of hope in the face of adversity? The day of the first meeting arrived, and he stood before a gathering crowd in the community center. Their faces held a mix of resolve and uncertainty, but as soon as he began to speak, he noticed something shifting in the air. "We are not alone," he declared, and the room erupted in applause, the energy palpable. But just as he began to feel the power of the moment building, he caught sight of a figure entering the back of the room, someone he never expected to see again. Mike's heart raced. What did this mean for him, for his community? As the crowd murmured, he realized that this unexpected visitor held the key to unlocking a new chapter, one that could change everything yet again. Mike's breath caught in his throat, the familiar face triggering a rush of emotions. It was Gary, his former boss, the man who had fired him for standing up against workplace bullying. Mike's heart pounded, a complicated mix of anger, resentment, and confusion swirling inside him. The crowd continued to murmur, shifting their attention to the man who once held power over their lives. Gary's face was serious as he made his way to the front. He wore a navy blue jacket that seemed ill-fitting, much like their previous encounters. This was not the suited-up manager he remembered. This was a man who had seen better days. Mike hesitated, and then swallowed hard, forcing himself to make eye contact as Gary approached him. "Mike," Gary started, his voice steady, but the tightness in his features betrayed his discomfort. "I didn't expect to see you here." The crowd quieted. Mike's heart raced. This was the moment he had both dreaded and anticipated, the confrontation he thought would never come. He felt Lily's hand wrap around his, her small fingers offering grounding in the storm of uncertainty. "Why are you here, Gary?" Mike replied, his tone sharper than intended. "You showed no care for what happened to me or my family." "I know," Gary admitted, glancing at the crowd behind Mike, then back to him. "And I've had some time to think. What you did that day, saving that kid, it opened my eyes. It was heroic, and I should have supported you instead of pushing you aside." Mike felt the stirrings of disbelief and something deeper. Could it be remorse? He studied Gary's face, searching for any hint of insincerity, but all he found was a man wrestling with his misdeeds. "I made a mistake that cost you everything," Gary continued, pain shadowing his features. "I want to help. I'm here for the community. I want to make things right." The room buzzed with energy again, and Mike could sense a shift in the crowd's interest. Some looked curious, while others wore expressions of caution, unsure of whether to trust the man who had once made their lives difficult. "Help?" Mike questioned, skepticism lacing his words. "Why should I believe you now?" "Because I've seen the impact of your fight," Gary said, his voice rising just above the murmur of the room. "I want to fund this support group, provide resources. I want to make up for my part in your pain." Shock rippled through the crowd. Gasps echoed and whispers fluttered like leaves in a breeze. Lily squeezed Mike's hand tighter, her eyes wide with surprise. The weight of the moment pressed down on him. This was a chance to transform the narrative of their struggle into something meaningful. But the memory of betrayal was hot in his veins, and he couldn't shake the feeling of being caught in a web spun of past grievances. "Why should we trust you?" came a voice from the back, a familiar face from the community that echoed Mike's own thoughts. "You walked away when we needed you." Gary nodded, a tension breaking across his face. "I know I don't deserve it, but courage is what I see in this room. Courage is what I want to support," he said, searching each face, willing them to see sincerity behind his words. The murmurs continued, voices bouncing back and forth like a tennis match. Mike's heart raced as he weighed the options. Could he really open the door to forgiveness? Could he take that leap of faith not just for himself, but for Lily and for the community? As the tension built, Mike glanced at Lily. Her eyes held hope, the innocent belief that things could change for the better, and maybe, just maybe, her father could believe in it too. "Let's talk," Mike finally said, his voice steadier than he felt. "But this isn't just about money or resources. We want partnership, accountability." He felt a surge of determination ripple through the crowd, a collective breath of hope. The moment felt electric, thick with possibilities. As everyone leaned in, eager to hear more, Mike realized this was just the beginning. He felt the dawning sense of renewal, yet a question still gripped his heart. Could forgiveness truly pave the way for healing in both their lives? Just as he prepared to share more, another unexpected arrival burst through the door, and the air shifted once again, leaving Mike gripping the podium, tension coiling tightly in his stomach. What now? The doors swung open with a creak that echoed through the hall, and all eyes turned to see who had arrived. A figure stepped inside, his silhouette framed by the bright light behind him. As the crowd murmured in uncertainty, Mike's heart sank. It was Mark, his old co-worker, one of the few people who'd stood by him during the turmoil. but there was something off about him. His face, once radiant with enthusiasm and laughter, was now drawn and serious. "Mark!" Mike called out, stepping away from the podium slightly, his voice a mix of relief and concern. "What's going on?" Mark scanned the room, taking in the tension thick enough to slice with a knife. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's important." He paused, breath hitching, as though the words were caught in his throat. "What is it?" Gary asked, stepping forward, defensiveness creeping into his voice. "There's been a situation," Mark said, his eyes darting to the crowd before finally settling on Mike. "It's about the kid who you saved. He's in trouble again. Serious trouble." Gasps erupted from the audience. Mike's stomach twisted, dread pooling within him. "What do you mean, trouble?" "He's been missing," Mark said urgently. "And rumors are going around. There are people looking for him, people who don't care what the law says. He was last seen near the docks. If something doesn't change soon, I'm worried." The words hung in the air, heavy as lead. Mike felt his heart hammer in his chest. He thought about how he had fought for that boy, and how he'd faced everything for the sake of one little life. "We have to go find him," Mike said instinctively. He turned to Gary, his frustration bubbling beneath his controlled facade. "You said you wanted to help. This is it." Gary's expression shifted, the weight of the moment pressing on his shoulders. "What do you need me to do?" Mike's mind raced. He thought about using the support group as a means to rally the community, to gather people who could assist in the search. "We need more eyes on the ground, more people to help. Will you help organize that?" "Yes," Gary replied, his voice surprisingly firm. "Anything." In an instant, the gathering transformed. Discussions erupted, fueled by a sense of urgency and renewed purpose. Mike saw the community united, people ready to mobilize. This was more than a second chance for Gary. This was humanity at its best, coming together for a shared cause. Lily squeezed his hand tightly, her eyes wide, filled with admiration. But beneath her innocent hope, Mike felt a familiar flicker of doubt blooming in the back of his mind. Was this really a turning point, or merely another facade? Could he trust his former employer with such a heavy task? "Let's split up," Mark suggested, pushing past the crowd. "Some of us can head to the docks, while others can spread the word. We'll make sure we don't leave any stone unturned." The momentum surged throughout the room, bodies shifting and conversations blending into a flurry of energy. Mike felt a spark igniting within him, lifting the heaviness that had been threatening to pull him under. He needed to focus, to channel this energy into action. The time for forgiveness would come, but right now, a boy was in need. As he prepared to lead the charge, Mike felt the air around him grow electric. The weight of uncertainty lifted for the moment, but still lurking in the shadows. "Everyone!" he called out, his voice rising above the din. "We can find him, together!" Suddenly another voice rang out from the back, piercing through the excitement. "What if he doesn't want to be found?" A chill shot through the crowd. Mike turned, ready to dismiss the remark, but something told him it resonated deeper than mere skepticism. He stood frozen, the room spinning with possibilities. Could they reach the boy in time, or would he choose to remain lost? The tension coiled once more, leaving Mike aching for a resolution, as doubt clawed its way back into his thoughts. What if all their efforts were in vain? Mike inhaled sharply, the weight of uncertainty pressing heavier in the pit of his stomach. As he met the eyes of those around him, he saw the flicker of doubt mirrored back. This wasn't just a search. It felt like a desperate race against time. "Let's not think like that," he finally replied, shaking off the comment. "We're going to find him. He needs us." His voice, steadier now, sliced through the lingering fears. It reignited the fire in the room. He turned to Mark. "What do we know about where he went missing?" "Just the docks," Mark replied, his brow furrowed. "I haven't heard anything concrete, but the area is a hot spot for, well, let's just say, not so great people. Great, Mike muttered under his breath. He glanced at Gary, who was already rallying a few volunteers to gather supplies. Make sure we're safe. We can't just rush in without a plan, he added. Lily squeezed Mike's hand tighter, grounding him amidst the chaos. I can help spread the word, she said, her determination evident despite her earlier fear. Absolutely, he replied, feeling grateful for the steadiness she provided. Gather the ones willing to help, hand out flyers. Let them know we're looking. As the crowd dispersed to their tasks, Mike's heart raced in tandem with his thoughts. He led a small group towards the docks, each step crunching on the gravel, each breath heavy with anticipation. With every heartbeat, he replayed the boy's face in his mind, the way he'd smiled, how grateful he'd been. Was that joy now lost in the shadows? When they arrived, the area buzzed with the sounds of the water lapping against the wooden piers and the faint shouts of workers in the distance. It felt like a different world from the one they had left behind. Stay close, keep your eyes open, Mike instructed, scanning the area. They moved as a unit, splitting off into pairs to cover more ground. Tension coiled in the air as they crept further along. The smell of salt and fish hung thick, clouds of worry clouding their thoughts. Over there, a voice whispered, and Mike's head snapped to the side. Standing just behind an old fishing boat, he spotted a set of ripped jeans, unmistakably belonging to the boy. His heart surged, hope and fear intermingled in an instant. Stay here, he commanded, motioning to Mark and the others to back up while he approached carefully. Hey, he called out, voice steady but cautious. It's Mike. We're here to help you. You don't have to be alone anymore. When no response came, he pressed on, closer to the fishing boat. Please, just show yourself. We're worried about you. A faint shuffle caught his ears, and the boy stepped into view, his face pale, eyes shadowed with anxiety. Mike's heart lurched. It's okay, he assured him gently. We're all here. You've got people who care. But as the boy took a step forward, another figure slithered from the shadows, a menacing glare locking onto Mike and the group. Step away from him, the stranger hissed, hands curling into fists. Panic exploded in Mike's chest. He could feel the raw energy of the moment, the weight of the decisions looming. Would he protect the boy, or risk escalating what could become a violent standoff? In that heartbeat, a choice loomed before him, one that could change everything. The crowd behind him fell silent, eyes wide with fear. Back off, Mike shouted, feeling adrenaline spike. He's not going anywhere with you. The threat hung in the air, tension vibrating as fear and defiance battled within him. The boy's life hung in the balance. What would he do next? As the stranger lunged forward, Mike braced himself for the confrontation that could redefine it all. Mike's heart pounded so loudly he thought it might burst from his chest. He stood firmly in front of the boy, ready to face whatever came next, knowing that his every instinct screamed to protect. In an instant, the stranger lunged. Mike instinctively sidestepped, narrowly avoiding the swing that was meant for him. A rush of adrenaline flooded his veins, sharpening his focus. He turned swiftly, trying to put himself between the boy and this threat. Get behind me, he shouted, urgency coloring his tone. The boy hesitated, eyes darting between Mike and the stranger, confusion mingling with fear. Now! The boy finally stumbled back, finding refuge against the side of the boat. Mike could sense the uncertainty drenching the air, heavy as a storm cloud. Who do you think you are? The stranger spat, sneering fiercely. This isn't your business. It is now, Mike retorted, squarely meeting the man's intense gaze. He felt the support of his friends just a few steps behind him, their presence lending him strength. You're gonna regret this, the stranger growled, his fists still clenched, but now he seemed to hesitate, as if weighing his options. Suddenly, Mark stepped up beside Mike. "There's no reason for this to escalate. Just walk away." His voice was collected, though it vibrated with urgency. Others in their group began to form a protective line, emboldening Mike. Finally, the stranger's bravado faltered slightly. "You're just a bunch of kids playing hero. This doesn't concern you." Mike clasped his hands together, forcing himself to remain calm. It was harder than it looked. "It concerns us if he's in danger. We're not going to let you hurt him." The boy's eyes searched the faces of those surrounding him, seeing allies where once he'd witnessed shadows. "Just leave, okay?" the boy murmured, his voice shaking but laced with newfound determination. "I'm not afraid of you." That seemed to push the stranger over the edge. In one swift motion, he lunged again, this time with a fury that ignited Mike's fight-or-flight response. Mike dove out of the way, adrenaline lowering the world around him to a blur. A muffled thud echoed as the stranger crashed against the boat where the boy had been moments before. "Mike, behind you!" Lily shouted from the sidelines, her voice resonating like a beacon. He turned just in time to deflect another attack, a mix of fear and anger pulsing through his every fiber. But just as the situation descended into chaos, there was the unmistakable voice of authority. "Freeze!" shouted an officer, emerging from the shadows as if conjured by the flames of hope. The stranger froze mid-motion. "Let's see where this just escalated," the officer said, stepping closer, hand on the gun at his hip. Mike's heart raced, a different kind of tension arising. Was this the help they needed, or just the start of another confrontation? As the officer guided the men apart and assessed the scene, Mike felt a mixture of relief and uncertainty wash over him. The boy had slipped forward, his fear giving way to a quiet strength. "I'm okay," he whispered, his voice stronger now. The crowd behind them began murmuring, eyes wide with anticipation. This could truly change everything. But deep down, a question gnawed at Mike's thoughts. Would this moment unite them? Or was it only the beginning of a much bigger storm looming on the horizon? And as the stranger was led away, the future waiting just beyond their grasp, Mike felt a spark ignite deep inside him. "We can't stop here," he declared, looking at his friends. "We found him, but now we need to know what's really going on." Standing together, they all felt that same pulse of urgency. What lay ahead would test their resolve like never before. But Mike was ready to push forward, driven by an unseen force of solidarity and determination. "Let's find answers," he affirmed, and with that, they walked toward the unknown, ready to uncover the truth. What if this journey led them to a place far beyond what they'd ever imagined? The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm glow over the lake as Mike and his friends joined forces, the air around them buzzing from the adrenaline of the confrontation. They abandoned the stunned crowd still whispering about the encounter, and the weight of the moment hung heavily in the tension between them. "Where do we even start?" Mark asked, glancing at Mike. The warmth of the sunset offered little comfort. Everything was still far from okay. "The dock," Mike suggested. "That guy mentioned something about his friends. We need to find out who they are." As they made their way toward the shoreline, Mike felt a surge of determination. He wasn't just fighting for the boy now. He was fighting to uncover the truth, hidden beneath layers of fear and intimidation. Behind him, the boy began to walk alongside them, hesitantly at first, but gaining confidence with each step. "Do you know where they are?" Lily asked, studying the boy's face for any signs of fear. "No," he answered softly, but then he added, "I know what they want. They're not good people." His voice was barely above a whisper, but the fear shimmering in his eyes was unmistakable. "What do you mean?" Mike pressed, his heart racing as he grasped the boy's shoulder, trying to convey reassurance. "They want to hurt me. They thought I knew something." The boy's gaze dropped to the ground. "Do you?" Mark interjected, the weight of that question hanging heavily between them. The boy looked up, bravery flickering in his eyes. I might. But it's dangerous. They'll come after me again. Not if we keep you safe, Mike assured him, recalling the rush of adrenaline from the fight. Together, we can figure this out. As the boy absorbed his words, Mike felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility settle over him. This wasn't just about finding answers anymore. It was about protecting someone who needed it. He recognized the flicker of hope lighting in the boy's eyes mirrored his own feelings. Suddenly, a familiar voice emerged from behind them. Mike! Lily! Mark! It was Jess, breathless as she rushed to catch up. I heard what happened. Are you guys okay? We will be, but we need your help, Mike said urgently, explaining the situation as quickly as he could. Okay, I'm in. Just tell me what to do, Jess replied, her eyes sharp with resolve. Stay alert. We need to get to the bottom of this before that guy's friends find him. Any idea how we can track them? Jess nodded thoughtfully. Maybe we can look around the area. There's a buddy of mine who knows everyone in town. If anyone knows something, it's him. Then let's get moving, Mike said, leading the group toward the docks where boats bobbed gently in the fading light. As they approached the edge of the water, Mike caught sight of a shadowy figure lurking near a nearby boat. Guys, over there, he whispered, putting a finger to his lips, signaling everyone to remain quiet. They paused, hearts pounding, as they caught snippets of conversation. The figure was on a phone, speaking urgently, their back turned to the group. Every instinct screamed that this could be a clue, a step closer to understanding what was truly going on. Do you think it's one of them? Lily whispered, eyes wide. I don't know, but we need to find out. As Mike crouched lower, readying himself for whatever lay ahead, he glanced at the boy. The uncertainty that had rattled him moments ago was gone, replaced by fierce determination. Are you ready? He asked, his voice steady amidst the tension. I have to be, the boy replied, a new strength burgeoning within him. With a steep inhale, Mike nodded, knowing they were about to dive into the unknown, stepping closer to answers, but also deeper into danger. What awaited them in the shadows? And as they edged nearer, the figure turned suddenly, eyes locking onto Mike with unmistakable recognition. The heart-stopping realization hit Mike. This was just the beginning. Mike's heart raced. The figure turned towards them, a wave of recognition washing over his features. The stranger's eyes narrowed, mouth curling into a tight smile that sent chills down Mike's spine. It was him, the guy from earlier, the one who had started all of this. Thought you'd gotten away, the man said, lowering his phone slowly as if time hung suspended. Mike felt the surge of anger within him. Get away from the boy, he shouted, stepping forward instinctively. The man's smile faltered for a moment. Then it returned, wider and more menacing. You think you can protect him? You have no idea what you're getting into. Behind Mike, Jess moved closer, her expression hardened with defiance. We're not afraid of you, she yelled, echoing Mike's anger. Cute, the man scoffed, but you should be. He shifted his weight, casting a quick glance around the dock before returning his gaze to the group. You don't know what he's involved in. It's bigger than you think. What do you mean? The boy asked, voice trembling. The man ignored him, folding his arms defiantly. This is beyond you. If you value your lives, you'll step back now. Not a chance, Mike stated, feeling the fear in his chest tighten into something more resolute. This boy needed them, and he couldn't let him down, not now. Then you'll regret it, the man replied, pulling out a small object from his pocket. The glimmer of a blade caught the light of the sunset, and Mike's pulse quickened. Back off, Mark yelled, stepping forward beside Mike. You don't scare us. That was it. Mike couldn't wait any longer. He lunged forward, adrenaline coursing through his veins, and with a swift movement, he knocked the knife out of the man's hand. The weapon clattered to the dock, echoing their defiance. But as the man stumbled back, his expression turned dark. "You'll pay for that." Before Mike could react, the man bolted, disappearing into the shadows beyond the docks. An unsettling silence filled the air, only broken by the soft lapping of water against the shoreline. Did we scare him off?" Lily asked, her voice shaking slightly, though triumph flickered in her eyes. "No," the boy whispered, horror creeping back into his face. "He'll come back. They always do. You opened a door that can't be closed." "But we'll be ready," Jess insisted, eyes wide with determination. Mike felt the weight of the boy's words pressing down on him. They were in this now, deeper than he ever anticipated. Still reeling from the close call, he looked around, and though fear clung like a shadow, he sensed the underlying strength in their group. "Let's find that buddy of Jess's," Mike said, trying to reclaim a sense of control. "He might know what we're facing." As they started moving back toward town, Mike could feel the boy's apprehension linger in the air. Questions buzzed in his mind, and with each step, the question settled deeper. What had they just opened themselves up to? They rounded the corner toward a small, dimly lit street. The atmosphere shifted. Anticipation crackled. Every shadow seemed to loom larger now, every sound more ominous, echoing uncertainty. "Guys, look," the boy suddenly said, pointing toward a flickering neon sign at the end of the street. "A diner. That's where I used to see them, the ones after me. I think they're hanging out there." An uneasy feeling twisted in Mike's stomach. "Do we really want to go there?" "It's the only lead we have," Mark said, his voice steadier than before. Mike took a deep breath, weighing risks against possibilities. They had to get to the truth. "Okay," he said. "We're going in." As they approached the diner, the air grew tense. The neon sign cast a glow over everything, but doubt gnawed at Mike. Were they truly ready for what lay ahead? And just as he stepped forward, an unexpected voice echoed from behind. "You think you can walk in there and just come out safely?" They turned, and Mike's heart dropped. It was a familiar face, one he never expected to see again. Who was here to help? And who was there to jeopardize everything they had fought for? The face was etched into Mike's memory, a mix of surprise and dread pooling in his chest. It was Claire, an old friend he had lost touch with. Her once bright eyes held shadows now, reflecting the weight of secrets untold. "Claire?" Mike managed to say, disbelief lacing his voice. "What are you doing here?" "You shouldn't be here," she warned, shifting her gaze to the diner and then back to Mike, urgency in her voice. "They're not just anyone. You have to trust me on this." "Yeah? Why should we trust you?" Jess interjected, arms crossed defiantly. "We don't even know what's going on." "Because I do," Claire replied, tension curling in the corners of her mouth. "And if you want to help him," she gestured toward the boy, "this is the worst place you could be heading right now." The boy's face paled. "What do you mean? Help me." Panic flared in his voice. "You have no idea who you're dealing with," Claire said, frustration breaking through. "It's not a simple fight. They're part of something larger, something criminal." "There's criminal activity going on?" Mark asked, his usual bravado faltering. Claire hesitated, her resolve teetering. She looked past them to the diner. "They wanted the boy. And if they find out you've been protecting him, they won't just come for him. They'll come for all of you." The group shifted uneasily at her words, weighing the gravity of the situation. Mike's heart raced as the pieces settled into a picture he didn't want to see. "What do you know?" Mike demanded, pushing the dread away. "Tell us everything." Claire took a deep breath. "I've been working undercover," she said, her voice steadying. "I was trying to infiltrate the group that's after him. I didn't know you were involved until I saw you earlier. You have to leave. Tonight. Right now." "But we can't just leave," Jess insisted, heart pounding. "We can't abandon him." "I know it sounds crazy, but I really think the only way to keep him safe is to take him away from here," Claire insisted, her voice threaded with urgency. The boy looked between them, eyes wide. "What did I get myself into?" Mike felt an overwhelming need to protect him, pulling him closer. "We'll figure this out, but first we need a plan." Claire smirked, appreciating his determination. "That's the first step, but we need to act fast." Before Mike could respond, a wave of familiarity washed over him when he spotted movement across the street. A group of men were emerging from the shadows, eyes locked toward the diner. Their presence was suffocating, the air thick with imminent danger. "They're here," Claire whispered urgently. Mike's heart dropped. He could feel the urgency clawing at him. "We need to get out of here, now." The group turned to flee, but in the getaway, Mike's mind raced. Who could they trust? What had he walked into? As they dashed toward a nearby alley, Mike grabbed Claire's arm. "Why didn't you warn me earlier? What else don't I know?" She hesitated, just long enough for doubt to seep through the cracks of their fleeting escape. "Because it's worse than you think," she finally said, her voice grave. "And the truth could change everything you know." With every step, Mike's heart raced louder, matching the drumming sound of the footsteps behind them. How deep did this rabbit hole go? Just as they turned the corner, Mike looked back. The group of men was upon them, closing in fast. "Run!" he shouted. But not before he heard Claire's words. "You don't know what you're really up against." What had they just stumbled into? And would anyone make it out alive? The chase was frantic, the sounds of heavy footsteps echoing off damp alley walls. Mike's heart thumped loudly against his chest as they sprinted, glancing back only to see shadowy figures gaining on them. Panic surged through him, mixed with fierce resolve. He wasn't going to let anything happen to the boy, or Lily, or Claire. "Head to the rooftops," Mark yelled, pointing toward a fire escape that clung to the side of a nearby building. They raced for it, adrenaline pushing them forward like a tidal wave. "Lily, stay close," Mike instructed, grabbing her hand tightly as they clambered up the metal rungs. The others followed, the sound of their pursuers growing fainter as they reached the rooftop and paused, panting heavily beneath the star-studded sky. "Are they gone?" Jess asked, scanning the edges of the roof with narrowed eyes. "For now," Claire breathed, distrust lingering in her voice. "But they'll be searching." Mike couldn't shake the unease swirling in his gut. "What do we do now?" he said, glancing down at the streets below. "If we keep running, they'll just follow." Claire took a breath, her expression turning focused. "We need to regroup and come up with a solid plan. They're not just out for the boy. It's about something bigger. I overheard them talking about a shipment, a deal going down soon." "A shipment?" Mark echoed, his brow furrowing. "What kind of deal?" "Drugs, firearms. I don't know everything, but they're involved in some serious crime, and if they're after Daniel, they might plan to use him." Mike felt a sickening jolt of anger and protectiveness surge through him. "No way. We can't let that happen." Another tense moment passed as they caught their breath and formulated their next steps. Then, the boy spoke up, his voice trembling but determined. "I don't want to be just a pawn in their game. I want to help." Mike turned to him, a mix of pride and concern washing over him. "You've already done so much, but it's dangerous. We can't get caught in this." "I know," Daniel replied, fire igniting behind his eyes. "But I can remember the places I overheard them. I can help." "No," Claire interjected sharply, her expression firm. You all have to be smart. The moment you step back into their reach, you're a liability. But what if we turn this around? Mike suggested, ideas snapping into focus. What if we expose them instead? I'm listening, Jess said, her eyes brightening for a moment. We could contact local authorities, Mike proposed. Share what Daniel knows. Maybe with the right intel we can set them up. Claire considered this, her skepticism turning. That could work, but we need proof. Something solid to convince them to act. Let me help with that, Daniel said, determination burning bright in his eyes. I can show you where their hideout is. I've been there before. A decision felt imminent. Mike struggled internally, fear wrestling with determination. Okay, let's do it, but all together. No one strays far from the group. From that rooftop, a calm descended over them as the plan crystallized. They would take the risk, but this time, they would be ready for whatever came next. As they climbed down from the rooftop, they paused to scan the area, ready for any sign of the looming threat. The air buzzed with anticipation, higher than ever as they slipped into the shadows. The streets felt foreign, laced with urgency and purpose. They headed back toward the original neighborhood, their eyes peeled for signs of movement. Mike glanced down at Lily, whose small hand still gripped his tightly. A mix of fear and trust flickered in her eyes, and he knew he had to protect her courage at all costs. With Daniel guiding them, they soon found themselves outside an old warehouse that loomed ominously against the night sky. Tucked away from the main road, it had the unmistakable air of secrecy. Mike felt a knot tighten in his stomach. This was where Daniel had been in danger. Are you sure this is it? Mike asked, anxiety nudging at him again. Yes, Daniel affirmed, taking a deep breath. This is where they meet. Claire stepped closer, scanning the building's perimeter for any signs of movement. We have to be careful. They may have guards. As they continued to survey the surroundings, just as Mike felt hope rising, something caught his eye. Flashing lights flooded the area. Siren wails echoed, and the tension erupted into chaos. The authorities had arrived. Look! Mark pointed as police cars began to surround the building in waves. They're here! Adrenaline rushed back into Mike's veins, electrifying his heart. It was now or never. Daniel, lead us in. We need to get the rest of the evidence and contain them, Mike ordered. Trust me, I'll guide us, Daniel replied, face set with determination. As they moved quickly towards the entrance, uncertainty still loomed heavy in the air. The moment they slipped inside, they found themselves face to face with the heart of the danger. Everyone, stay close, Mike urged, glancing back to ensure Lily was safe. In the dim light, whispers of conversations filled the air, shadows slinking about like snakes in the night. Mike's pulse quickened, the stakes higher than ever, but he held onto the flicker of hope ignited by the sirens outside. They were on the cusp of something that could redefine everything. The truth hung just beyond their grasp, waiting to shatter the silence and expose the darkness within. But with every step deeper into the shadows, the uncertainty lingered. Would they find the answers they sought? Or would they awaken a beast far more dangerous than they'd imagined? With tension thick as fog, each breath felt monumental. They were standing at the edge of transformation. They would not let go now. As they ventured deeper, Mike could only feel it. This was their moment, and together they would seize it, no matter the cost.